All right, welcome everyone. I hope you're all hearing and seeing me okay. But today we've got a very special session for you. I'm sure you guys are super keen knowing the subject of this and the reason why you guys registered and showed up today. And Keith, who is the founder of SegMetrics, is obviously giving this presentation today, someone who is very knowledgeable on the topic. It's something that he has been using in his own business that he's very passionate about, he's told me. And he's been someone who has been in the conversion rate optimization space for 15 years. He's been doing it for himself, his business. And really the topic of today is going beyond KPIs, which Keith has told me is one of his favorite topics to be talking about. So yeah, welcome Keith.
Thanks so much, Liam. Thank you so much for having me, man. I'm really excited about this. And as I mentioned, I'm really passionate about this topic because I ran an agency for a number of years focusing on this kind of thing, on conversion rate optimization, on optimizing outliers and stuff. And when we built SegMetrics, this has been one of our core fundamentals on how we build the business. So yeah, always excited to talk about this stuff.
Oh, yeah, I'm excited to hear all about it. Yeah, so guys who are here, I think everyone has access to the chat. Maybe say hello, let us know where you're tuning in from, and we can make this interactive, maybe a bit more engagement. And yeah, I'm sure, Keith, you're available to answer any questions as we go along as well.
Definitely. So I'll be taking a couple of breaks as we go through to answer any questions. And then at the end, also any questions. So any questions that people have, toss them in the chat. I'll get to them as I go through the presentation. And then at the end, if there's any at the end, I'll answer those as well.
Perfect. Sounds great. All right. Well, should we get started?
Let's do it. I do want to apologize. I am coming off a cold from a week and a half ago, and I still have a cough. So if I hack out a lung, I apologize in advance. All right, let's do this. And we're going to do this. And I think we are sharing. Let me resize that so that actually looks good. There we go. And I hope that everyone can see that. And let me know if, yeah, you say you can see it. All right, well, let's get started as I hack out a lung. All right, so we're going to talk today about going beyond KPIs and uncovering hidden profits. So at a top level, what this means is that KPIs are really what we build our businesses on, right? It's like, what is our churn number? What is our MRR? What is our cost per lead? What is our lead value? These are things that are key to our business and key to improving what we're doing. The problem is that even though we feel that they are able to improve our marketing and improve our business, KPIs are actually not able to do that. And that's what I'm going to go into here and talk about why they are kind of useful, but not how we think, and then what we should be doing instead. So a little bit about me. My name's Keith Perhac. I'm the founder of SegMetrics. And before that, I ran a conversion rate optimization agency called Develop Your Marketing. I did that for a number of years, and SegMetrics is really what got born out of that. So we worked mainly with info product and SaaS. We worked with Ramit Sethi at I Will Teach, SCD Lifestyle, Dr. Axe, Nomadic Matt, Evan Pagan, Quick Learning, all these people. And what we did was focus on conversion rate of funnels. And so our whole thing was, you get traffic to the site, we will turn them into customers. Right? And one of the challenges that we ran into was that, especially at the time, the analytics for middle of funnel nurturing and conversion was just horrible, right? Because you had someone click on an ad and they have to go through an email sequence. They have to maybe get on a sales call. They have to do all these things that web tracking could not track. And then they purchase maybe a month, 3 months, 6 months, 9 months later. And we still want to know where that lead came from. And so it was impossible. We had to pull all this data from Excel spreadsheets, pull them into CSVs, do pivot tables, do all this stuff, and merge them all together. And it took hours. It took probably 5 hours to get any single report on how a particular funnel was performing. And so we built an internal piece of software, now SegMetrics, to essentially do that job for us. And we showed it to our clients, and the clients were like, this is great. Can we get access? And oh, okay. So now we have a login. And then it's like, oh, we want someone else to be able to have access to this. We want to show this to our friends. And it's like, okay, now we have a billing system. It's like, so the software eventually built on top of what we were doing every day at the agency for our clients to make our reporting easier. And then at one point, the software got bigger than the agency. And so we shut it down. And now we just do SegMetrics. All right. That was a little bit about me. So what are we going to do in this talk? So the goal of this training is 3 things. 1, to go beyond top level KPIs. 2, to identify the segments that are key to your business. And then 3, find hidden profits in your funnel. And this is especially important to agencies and us as agencies because we want to continually prove value to our clients. And anyone who's run an agency knows the beginning is all roses and blue sky, and you're hitting that low-hanging fruit, and it's just so easy to show that value. And it's like, yeah, we got 120% conversion. We've upped your revenue by 50% this month. All this great stuff. And as time goes on, it becomes kind of normalized, right? The client's just used to that, or it's getting harder to prove the value that you're bringing, even though you're still bringing value to the table. And that's why it's important to show beyond these top level KPIs and into the segments and the advice and really the nitty gritty of conversion rate. As marketers, our main focus is on conversions at the end of the day. And that can mean anything. That can be lead conversion. That can be traffic conversion. That can be return on ad spend. That can be lead value, time to sale, and all this stuff. But at the end of the day, what we're really trying to do is turn visitors into leads and then leads into customers in the most effective way possible. And that's why most of our client reports look like this. So we see something with ad cost and clicks and impressions and stuff. And when we're looking at this, we're really looking at top level numbers, right? So we see improvements here, or we see deteriorations. If we look at clicks, we're down 45% over last year. Impressions are down, click-through rate is up, et cetera, et cetera. And while this is important to make sure that we're moving in the right direction, and this is something that the clients want to know, this dashboard really isn't actionable in any way, right? Because we're looking at top level numbers. We're looking at number of impressions. We're looking at top level click-through rates. And we show this to the client. It's like, we're going up, we're going down, but we don't have a why just looking at these numbers. We don't have anything that is showing actionable information here. And the reason is because these are top level numbers and they don't help us improve our marketing. And that's because we know that all customers are not created equal, or not all customers are created equal. Everyone is different that goes through our funnel. So why do we look at top level KPIs if we know that everyone who goes through our funnel is different? So this is a little esoteric. So let me break this down a little bit into a good example. So let's say we have a well-performing nurture sequence. So people opt in, they get a PDF or whatever, and we have a 50% conversion rate to customer. And holy moly, if any of my info product customers had a 50% conversion rate to customer, they would be over the moon, especially since most of them charge like $1,000, $5,000 for their product, right? So 50% conversion rate is absolutely great. But what if we start to break it down a little bit? So let's look at copywriters versus designers. And in that 50%, we see that copywriters are converting at 100%, while designers are converting at 0%. And suddenly we see a problem. We see that 50% conversion rate is great, but once we break it down to our industry segments, we understand that we have an entire industry segment that we are targeting that is not converting at all. Maybe that's the messaging is wrong. Maybe that's the product is wrong. Maybe there's multiple things it can be. But what we're essentially saying is literally half of our marketing is wasted because designers are not converting. And this copywriter versus designer, the industry, whatever, this can really be anything, right? So this could be where people come from, right? So it could be Google versus Facebook, or organic versus paid, what are the segments that are converting well versus not. It can also be what products they buy. We can say copywriters really enjoy buying this product, designers really hate buying this product. So how do we find the happy path of what these different customer segments want? And this is really what is the problem with KPIs, is that when you're looking too broad, and KPIs by definition are broad, they obscure both the good and bad performers. And you're going to see this slide a lot because this is just absolutely key to what we're looking at. So let's do a thought experiment for a minute and compare two insights that we see from our data and really hammer this home. ROAS on these ads was up 8% last week. All right, so that's number one. Number two, designers convert at only 4% from PPC. All right, so looking at these two, the second one does sound worse, doesn't it? Right? Like this is obviously a good thing. ROAS was up 8%. Designers convert only 4%. That's a bad thing. But when we look at it as a marketer and we look at it as a client, it gives us something tangible to build that strategy around, right? Where we either create a new product or we change our position. We figure out why they're not converting or just stop targeting copywriters. And that's something we want to know because it latches on, it gives us something to latch onto and adds a strategy element to what we're doing. When we're looking at ROAS was up, that's not actionable. It's great. It's good news. But why? What did we do? Why? What did we change? Right? Whereas if we're looking at 4%, now we understand something that we can target effectively in order to take that next step with our marketing. And this is the type of insight that improves your marketing and uncovers your hidden profits. It increases the value of your data and takes what is happening and turns it into why it's happening. And this is something that there's a conversation I have with my marketing team every single week because I don't want to know the KPIs as much as I want to know the outliers. Like, okay, MRR was up 5% this month. Cool. Why? What caused us to go up 5%? What can we do to do that again? If MRR was down, what can we do to do that? If we have more cancellations this week than we did last week, why? What is the demographic that caused that? And those are the things that I want to know more so than just what is happening, right? Now, don't get me wrong here. I mean, KPIs are important, right? Because they show you if you're moving in the wrong direction, right? If your MRR is constantly going down, then you know you have a problem. And you need to be able to recognize that problem. But in order to fix it, you need to be able to dive into those outliers because KPIs are averages, right? They're gauges to know if you're going in the right direction. Whereas those details, those outliers are actionable. And they're the things you really can sink your teeth into. And it's something you can start actually marketing against. All right, so we're going to dive into, now that I've kind of hammered that point home, we're going to kind of dive into what are the aspects that we should be looking at when we're starting to go from KPIs to uncovering those hidden profits. If anyone has any questions, anything that, please put them in the chat and I'll pick them up. And if not, then we can just keep on trucking. And I'm going to take a drink so that I don't lose my voice. All right, no questions. Let's take it on. All right. So there are really two important aspects to your users, two important things that you want to look at when you are optimizing your funnel. All right. One is unique user segments that exist for your audience. So this is demographic information. This is industry. This is things about the people that you can bucket them into. So we were talking about copywriters and designers. Industry is a great one. Where people came from is also a good one. Average revenue is a great one. If you're targeting B2B, you want to be able to know how many people are in their business, how many people, what's their average yearly revenue, things like that. So anything that you can do to bucket people or customers or leads into these segments, that is valuable to be able to optimize towards. All right. The second one, excuse me again, is the touch points on your user journey. So touch points are the things that people do. They are things like getting on a demo, downloading a PDF, attending a webinar, any of these things that show that are things that people do on the journey to becoming a more valuable customer. And the cool thing about what we do at SegMetrics and what you should be doing if you're doing conversion rate optimization is each segment and each touch point should have a dollar value associated with it. And you should be able to say, it costs us $50 to get a lead. Okay. People who download a PDF are worth $20. People who get on a sales call are worth $150. People who register for a webinar are worth $70. And be able to see, based on your historical data, people who do X, excuse me again, are worth Y dollars, right? And that is really the crux of optimizing these, putting a dollar value on each of those. So let's go a little bit specific. For SegMetrics, our segments, our main ones, we do by industry and acquisition channel. So we look at industry like e-commerce, info products and coaching, SaaS, agencies, and sales. Acquisition channels are things like Facebook, Google Ads, organic search, and referrals. Right? So those would be different segments. They're things about the people in our funnel. Touch points are the things they do to become a customer. So they start visiting the site, starting a trial, completing setup, getting on a free Kickstart call, becoming a customer, right? The goal is really to find the best combination of touch points and segments, right? So when someone comes in from organic, what is the best flow that they can take to turn them into a valuable customer? When someone comes in from paid, when someone comes in as a referral, because as people come in from different channels and different types of industries, they're going to behave and respond differently to different touch points based on what they're doing. For example, we found, well, I'm not going to spoil it because we'll go into it in a moment. All right. So why is segmentation important? So kind of drill this home, but once again, not all customers are created equal. And understanding how each segment converts lets you target the message towards those people, right? And what targeted messaging applies is that you really understand their pain point, because we're always talking about, when we're looking at a product, when we're looking at a solution, when we're looking to buy anything, is this right for me? I don't care about if I'm in the SaaS, if I'm a SaaS business, I don't care if this is for coaches. If I'm in a SaaS business, I don't care if this is for e-com. Is this right for me as a SaaS business? And this is why we build landing pages and nurture sequences and funnels for each of these segments. So when we look at craft and commerce, we know the business of online creators. When we look at artist communities, a community for artists like you. YouTube for beginners. We know the challenges of starting out with YouTube, right? These are all very targeted based on the audience and the segment that we are trying to talk to. And as a business, we talk to many different niches. We talk to many different segments. So we need to be able to understand how those different segments go through our funnel and what we can do to make them feel like we are talking specifically to them and not in a generic way. We always say the right product, the right person, the right time. And excuse me again. And what we really want is that per segment landing page and a conversion funnel that talks to each of these people individually. And even sometimes the product itself should be focused on that interest group, right? So sometimes you're more broad. SegMetrics, we have multiple different industries that we work with, but we still need to be able to figure out who we're talking to so that we can have that conversation, because the things that a SaaS, well, let's go back. The things that a copywriter values in their product journey is not the same as a designer. There's probably things that are the same, but the language that they use, the way they think about things, and the process that they take are different. And you want to be able to speak to that. So as soon as you know that someone is a copywriter versus a designer, you want to be able to drill into that and say, we understand your pain as a copywriter more so. And because if you're talking to a copywriter and it's like, and designers do this, it's like, they don't care, right? So finding the right person. So this all sounds well and good. And we look at something like ConvertKit and we say, oh, well, they know they're for creators, right? They have that branding. They're all on creators. But they didn't always know that. When they started, they were just generic. They were like Drip or they were like MailChimp, right? And they had to build out that niche. They had to focus down on that customer segment. And when you're starting this process and starting this funnel, you don't necessarily know who's going to be your best customer. You don't know who you're talking to well and who isn't responding to your messaging, right? And so you really want to be able to figure out who are your best segments, who are the people that you're talking to. And the challenge here is that you can't just send people a 50-point survey and get all the information you need. And so you could bucket them into segments and stuff, right? People hate surveys. It's not going to work. Fortunately, there's a number of tools out there that help you build a customer profile where your leads don't even notice it. And this is what I call action-based segmentation. And the idea here is that you don't send a bunch of questions all at once. You trickle it out. You build a customer profile over time. So let's go through a couple of examples of action-based segmentation. This is really what we do at SegMetrics as well, and what we did with all our clients, where we're slowly building up over time. Because remember, especially if you're selling a $300, $500 product, people are not clicking on an ad and buying. They are researching. They're going through it multiple times. And so you have this chance to build up this customer profile over time because you are not a straight e-com one click an ad and buy kind of setup. All right. So, excuse me again. Let's go through some examples of action-based segmentation. So, one, Facebook demographics to identify users who click. So this is super straightforward, super easy. You build out your segments in Facebook to target certain demographics and certain areas, right? And then when someone clicks on that ad, you can then tag them in SegMetrics or tag them in your marketing tool. Person came in from the 30 to 45-year-old male demographic. That's who they are. And now we know a little bit of information about them, right? Second one, targeted landing pages specific to your segments. If you have copywriters, have a copywriter branded landing page. If you're going after designers, designer targeted landing page. Run ads to them, run organic, do different things. But the people who are opting in for those targeted landing pages, 9 times out of 10 are going to be part of that demographic. A designer is not often going to opt in for a developer or a copywriter landing page. They're going to organically find that landing page that is targeted towards them, right? This is one that I love. On follow-up emails and through follow-up sequences, give people presents and bonuses, right? And require them to click a link that tags them based on their interests. And we used to do this a lot at I Will Teach, which was we would give out a bonus to people, but they had to choose one and they could only have one. So it would be like, okay, if you're looking to build a better business or you're looking for personal and independent financial freedom, what are you interested in? Click that link and get that bonus. And when they click that link, they get tagged and you know, okay, this person is interested in starting a business or growing a business. And then the last one is this micro survey, and which is on the right here. And it's interesting because I think a lot of times we as marketers, we get kind of blind to this kind of stuff and we're like, oh, no one's going to click this. And it's just patently not true. Like, we are not our best customers by a long shot. And we have had so much success with these microservices where it's essentially like, it's not even micro surveys. It's not even a survey at this point. How can I help you today? Start a business, grow a business. And then they're getting the content that they want for the position. They're getting the content they want to solve the problem that they came here for, right? Starting a business and growing a business, similar, but not the same. But clicking that starts me down on a path to get the content I need, but also lets you as the marketer understand where they are in that lead nurture sequence and how you should be talking to them through all those emails. All right. And overall, what this lets us do is build that complete customer journey. And so we can see where people came from. What did they do? What did they download? We can see all of their custom fields. We can say, okay, they're a janitor in Korea working in legal services. Wow, random data is crazy, right? And a lot of CRMs let you do this to various degrees, but at the end of the day, the CRMs are there for managing your audience and not for reporting and optimizing them. And this is one of the kind of challenges we had before we built SegMetrics, which was, okay, we have all this data. How do we report on it? Okay, we know everyone who has the legal services industry. We can get a list of all those, and then we could go one by one and try to figure out, okay, how many different industries do we have, and then export them all and do all that stuff. And it's impossible to do any reporting on it. And that makes sense because CRMs are not built for reporting. I'm going to throw Rob under the bus a little bit here. I'm friends with Rob Walling, who was the founder of Drip. And a number of years ago, we were going to build a Drip integration. And Rob was like, for SegMetrics. And Rob was like, no, we're going to have some reporting coming in the next 2 months. You probably shouldn't do it. We're just going to be doing exactly what you're doing. I was like, oh, okay, I'll hold off on that. 2 months go by. 3 months go by. I'm like, hey, Rob, he's coming out. I say, yeah, it's coming out. 6 months, 9 months. Year and a half goes by. We just built the integration. We're like, screw this. But they finally got the reporting out, and it was essentially like, show a list of contacts who have X or Y. Not even near what you needed to be able to say, what is the dollar value of someone who is in legal services? What are my dollar values of customers broken down by industry? What are the conversion rates? What are my sales rates based on that, right? And it makes sense because CRMs and emailing software, they have other things to do. They have to worry about campaigns. They have to worry about sequences. They are not reporting tools. And when I got into SegMetrics, I thought reporting would be super easy. It is not. It is not at all. There are so many gotchas and edge cases and everything. It is a very hard problem to solve. And if you are not someone or something that is dedicated to that, then the focus is not going to be there, is really what it comes down to. So when we're looking at something like SegMetrics, then what we do is we take all that information from the CRM. We take it from Facebook, from ads, from tags to purchases, and we combine that all into that full customer journey that we were just looking at, right? And then we're able to query on any aspect of that journey. We're able to say, show me everyone who has the tag in this date range. Show me everyone who is in legal services. Break it down by legal services. Show me everyone who came in from Facebook and what their industry was. All this information we have, we're now able to query on in real time and then see things like, what is our conversion rate? How much revenue did we make from them in the last 30 days? What is the lead value of each of those people? And this is how you start uncovering your hidden profits. Excuse me again. And it's really this combination of art and science which is marketing, right? So it's identifying segments, which is an art. You have to understand your audience and understand how you want to get that data. And then identifying those drop-off points, which is a science. It is getting the numbers and calculating, okay, people who did this are worth this much money. People who did this are worth this much money. Combine them. How about people who are in the legal services industry who came in from Facebook? How much is that worth? So we get simple answers, and then we can get more and more complex as we have the ability to query on this data. All right. And this really all ties back to what I call applied psychology. And that is my full belief that marketing is really applied psychology. It is the ability to understand who your audience is and then leverage that understanding to be able to sell to them better, right? But if you don't understand what the pain points are, if you don't understand what your customers are looking for, you can't connect with them and you can't sell to them. All right. I don't see any questions in the chat, but I'm going to take a quick tea break. And if anyone has any questions, please put them in the chat. And if not, we'll go on to some we're going to switch out from the high level and start talking about how we actually go about optimizing a funnel based on these segments and touch points. All right, no questions. Let's continue on. All right, so I'm going to start at the top level. I just want to make sure we're on the same page. Everyone know how to calculate lead value. There's probably one of the most valuable metrics that you will probably ever use in marketing. But let's go through it real quick. Just do a quick refresher. All right. So lead value is the average amount of money you can expect anyone on your list to generate. All right. And easy to calculate. You take the amount of money you earned in a funnel. So let's say our marketing funnel gave us $10,000 and we divide by the number of leads who has completed that step in the funnel. So let's say we're looking at the lead value of people who opt in. We had 10,000 people. That means each lead is worth $1, right? The way you increase your lead value is by selling more to the same number of leads or by increasing the number of people who purchase. All right. So you can increase your conversion rate or you can increase the average order value or the long-term value of people by increasing what they're buying. All right. And this is super important. Increasing lead value makes you more money with the same leads, right? And that's important because top of funnel is hard. And for a lot of us, top of funnel means buying leads with ads, right? Cost per acquisition. And so increasing the lead value means you don't have to increase your cost per acquisition. You don't have to increase the number of leads. You're working on taking those same leads and making more money from them. All right. So we're going to go through our actual customer acquisition journey. And I want to show you how we identified some huge drop-offs in our funnel and our marketing that allowed us to fix those and 12x over the last year. Again, SegMetrics is something that we built for ourselves. We use it every single day on our own marketing. And I don't think that we could improve our business and our marketing as well as we could without this. That's my opinion as the founder, but it is indispensable for us building out what we're doing with our own marketing. All right, so let's go through, excuse me again. Let's go through this touch points real quick. So we have leads are coming in. They're coming from organic. They're coming from referrals. They're coming from partners. They're coming from paid ads. They start a trial. All right, we have a 14-day free trial. They start that. Once they sign up for the trial, they connect all of their systems. They connect Facebook. They connect ActiveCampaign, ConvertKit, Stripe, whatever they have. All right, they're going to get set up. Next, they get on a free Kickstart call where we teach people how to use the software. We make sure all their stuff is set up correctly. We really get them in and help them build out dashboards. This is how you use SegMetrics to make more money. All right. And then after that, 14 days later, when that trial is complete, they become a customer. All right. That is our, at a high level, our flow. All right. So when we are looking to optimize this and we're looking to find holes in this, we're going to start with our baseline metric. All right. And for us, our excuse me again, our baseline metric is that trial to customer. And our trial to customer, we have a really good conversion rate, 54%. It's actually really good. Like when people start a trial, they tend to convert. All right. So then we're going to map out those points in the funnel. So we have those 4 points, and we're going to separate each of them into a conversion rate and see where we start to have problems. So trial to setup, 90%, pretty easy. Okay. Setup to customer, 45%. That's about what we saw. Trial to kickstart, 13%. Kickstart to customer, 94%. Okay. So we have some outliers here, right? So our total conversion rate is 45%. Trial to setup, 90%, no problem there. But our trial to kickstart is 13%, and our kickstart to customer is 94%. So what does that mean? So that means that people who get on a kickstart convert at 94%. It is a huge converter for us to customers. It behooves us to get on as many kickstarts as we can to really teach people how to use the software, because that's when they start to feel they get value. However, only 13% are getting on the kickstart. So why is that? Kickstarts are converting, but no one gets on them. So let's start breaking it down a little bit. All right. So up until now, we are still looking at KPIs, right? Even though we're looking at the touch points and we're seeing, okay, we've identified a hole in the funnel, we're still looking at a KPI of trial to kickstart is 13%. We don't know what is causing that. So now we need to dive in and get some outliers. So what do? We look at our segments, right? Excuse me again. We look at, let's just pick 4 of our industries. Info product, 35%. SaaS converts to Kickstarts 32, gets on a Kickstart 32% of the time. Ecom gets on 5%. Agencies get on 73%. All right. So I think we found it. What did we learn from this? We have a good conversion rate to customer, 54%. All right. People who get on the Kickstart convert at a really high rate, which means we should get more people on that Kickstart. People who don't get on a Kickstart don't convert nearly as well. Only 13% of users get on the Kickstart. Ecom users are by far the least likely to get on the Kickstart and convert, and we need to find a better offer for them or better self-serve options. And this is really what we found. We found that ecom people were just not interested in talking to us. A lot of them were drop shippers. A lot of them wanted very simple things and they didn't want to get on a call. A lot of them felt it would be a sales call. There were a lot of reasons people weren't getting on those Kickstarts, but at the end of the day, ecom wanted to do it themselves. They did not want any help and they wanted to just get on with it. And so it was on us. We couldn't force them to get on these Kickstarts. So we had to build out other self-serve options and other ways and other courses and trainings and all this stuff so that they could get the same value out of SegMetrics as getting on that Kickstart call, but they didn't need to get on the call themselves. And so we actually did 2 things. One is that we did increase that self-serve option. So we, excuse me again, we brought in courses, we brought in videos, we brought in better onboarding. We teach people better in the application how to get value out of SegMetrics in the beginning. And then we also kind of soft push that Kickstart because we still do feel that that Kickstart is valuable. And what we did is we were able to bring people onto that Kickstart that wouldn't normally because we had teased them with the value. So a lot of the agencies, a lot of the info products and stuff, we kind of have this, we're used to talking to experts, right? Especially agencies and info products, I think, because we are used to working with experts, we're used to hiring experts, and we're used to that idea of information exchange. And it was much more valuable for them to spend 30 minutes or an hour talking to an expert to get up to speed and running than it was to try to figure it out themselves, right? They wanted the training. They wanted the extra handholding, whereas the ecom really wanted to figure it out themselves. So, but what we were able to do for the ecom is show, hey, here's some of the cool things you can do. If you want more, talk to our team. And we were able to kind of soft sell, even though it's free, soft sell them into that Kickstart, into that larger kind of support, which then made them better customers and increased that conversion. So this is one of the ways that we kind of looked at a problem, which was people don't want to get on this super valuable thing that is completely free and helps both them understand the product and helps us with conversion. They just don't want to get on it. So how do we bring them into that flow? All right. So sometimes after identifying a low performer, it just brings up more questions, right? And excuse me, let's go through a bonus step real quick. So who is good at which industries? Because again, not all people are, not all customers are created equal, and not everyone on your team interfaces with different industries or different people in the same way. All right. So let's look at some of our onboarding and our Kickstart people. So in this case, we see that everyone is good onboarding ecom clients. But Mike's experience with info products and coaches means that his Kickstarts have a much higher success rate than Kevin's, which means that we now know that if we get a user self-identifying as a coach during their sign-up process, then they should get on a call with Mike instead of Kevin. And this is really one of those things that I like about like Google Analytics or really any good analytics tool, which is and this is again the art of marketing, which is those questions as you're going through the data and you see a weird outlier like this. And it's like, oh, why is that? Why is info product and Kevin not doing well? And it takes us down this rabbit hole of be able to just click, 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 dive down into that data and then say, oh, that's why, right? And that real-time exploration into your funnel and your data, I think is one of the most important abilities as a marketer. And it's one of the reasons I think that explorative reporting is so key to optimizing your funnel, because 9 times out of 10, you do not have the question that you are trying to answer when you go in. You might have a broad question in mind, but you're not going to be able to drill down into the details just before you actually go into the tool, because it is those things as you're looking through the data, as you're looking through those tables, as you're looking at those outliers that you're like, what is that? And this is actually a problem for me personally, because I will spend hours and hours just clicking on different subsegments and trying to figure out who is performing well, what is not performing well, and why that is. And I've wasted many, many a day on that. Again, bring up this slide. So broad cohorts obscure both good and poor performers, right? During step 1, we saw that we had a 54% conversion rate, which is awesome. But that hid the fact that we had a customer segment that was performing horribly because they weren't getting on the kickstarts, right? We had an understanding of what was going on in our funnel, but not why they were happening. The specific cohorts let you find your most valuable audience. And your most valuable audience is how you start to understand where are your profits hidden? What can you do to uncover that revenue that's just sitting there, right? And really, this entire process that we've gone through works the same for any metric. We were doing conversion rate, but we can do this with LTV. We can do the dollar value of each step in that funnel. We could do this with churn. We can do the churn by industry is a huge thing that we look at. How many months does an e-com person stay on as opposed to an info product person? Once we know that, we know their lifetime value and we know how much we can spend to get that, to acquire a customer, but we can also tell how long we need to wait to get return on ad spend from those customers. And it is much faster and much more valuable for us to get a high dollar e-com or high dollar info product or agency than it is for us to get a low dollar drop shipper, because they stay on longer, they're more valuable over time, and they don't churn as often, right? And being able to do this with any value is really the key to unlocking those hidden profits for you and your clients in a dependable and repeatable way. So we can do this by source, where people came from. We can do it by interest. We can do it by any of this data. And this is the crazy thing to me, which is anything you know about your contacts, anything you know about your leads can then be used in these types of calculations to understand who is our best customer, what are they doing, how can we find more of them. Excuse me again. That's all for how I really go into identifying those outliers, optimizing those outliers, and really taking a funnel and putting a dollar value on every bit so that I can understand who are my best customers and who are not. Anyone has any questions, happy to take them in the chat. If not, then thank you so much for your time.
Awesome, Keith. Thanks very much for sharing that really interesting information and data, and just the thoughts are going around my head about all the kind of metrics we look at and how we should really be diving down to uncover those hidden profits, as you like to call it, but just the performers, underperformers, the
conversion, the performance of everything. And there's no end to it. Like it just we break down by especially where people are coming from, industry, lifetime value, churn, and we just look at those numbers and we drill down and we just collect as much data as humanly possible, because it's so easy to just filter on it and break it down. It's like, okay, what are the industries that came in from Facebook this month? How do they convert? How do they perform? what content do they like looking at, right? I go for hours because I just love it so much.
Yeah, and just looking at the other side of things, like for the sales team or the onboarding team, right? Like of how they're converting for different segments, industries. I hadn't even
Exactly.
thought on that side of things as well.
Yeah, one of the things that we've been looking at recently is for each of our salespeople or on the Kickstarts calls, what is the upsell percentage? So we have a number of services. We have monthly optimization calls. We have group calls. We have done for you services. We have one-on-one coaching, all this stuff. What is the upsell percentage? What is that ability to sell as well? Then broken down by salesperson and by industry. And so what are the good combinations there where we can really provide that value as well?
Yeah, nice. So as long as you hook up all the information, like if people are tracking the data in Infusionsoft or Keep, it'll be sent across into SegMetrics, and you can then just analyze the data from there.
Exactly. Yeah. Awesome. Well, it doesn't look like we have any questions. Oh.
Yeah, does anyone have any questions? Susan, Laura, Kalani, Brian, any questions, or how did you guys find it? Let us know in the chat. It'd be great to hear your feedback.
It looks like Jason popped off. And I apologize again for all my coughing during that presentation.
No, that was fine. I think you handled it well, considering you got a bit of a cold, a little bit sick.
Yeah, the doctor said I'll be coughing for a month, so yay. Awesome. Well, it looks like no question. Oh, go ahead, Liam.
Yeah, I was going to ask, like, obviously, like a lot of the data being analyzed is kind of like post. It feels like we've been talking about a lot of post kind of campaign or after it's happened. Is there kind of like a live kind of split testing that we can be kind of doing with this same? Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So the two ways. So there's two ways to do that, and one of the ways that we're doing it is you can either do different URLs, and then SegMetrics picks that up automatically because you're going to either a URL A or B, and you can say, okay, what's the conversion rate for A? What's the conversion rate for B? The second one is that if you want to put that straight into Keep or Infusionsoft, you put that into the form, send that in as a custom field or a tag or something like that, pick it up that way. And I really like tagging. And what that lets you do is not only measure the results in SegMetrics, but also lets you then break up your funnel into different flows based on what they're answering, right? And which landing page and which split test they went down. And I'm huge on split testing. I'm huge on really tracking any touch point or any kind of split test that you're doing there in the CRM, because I like having that ability to then break out the funnels later and say, okay, we know that people in A are doing better than B. Let's send them down this different flow.
All right, awesome. Yeah, I just was responding to Brian there in the chat. Interested to know, Brian, like, what industry or market are you in? Like, where do you see this? Because there might be some specific help. It sounds like there's, when you're looking at your market, your whether it's SaaS or agency or info products or e-com, like there seems to be certain segments that are interested in your product versus others.
One thing that we found one thing that we found really interesting about e-com is that, in e-com, you really think of like, and I kind of alluded to this in the talk, is you click an ad and you buy something, right? And what we actually found is that the average time to purchase from an ad to purchase is actually more like 14 days for e-com. And it blew my mind. I was like, this goes against everything that we have thought about e-com, and all of our customers think about e-com as well. And it was interesting because at that same time, I was buying a new iPhone case, and it took me 10 days to buy it. I had clicked on an ad. I had seen different ones that I wanted. I was like, okay, I think I'm going to go buy this. And then things come up, and I think about it some more, and some other stuff does. And then 10 days later, I ended up buying it. And I realized, wait a minute, this was a $20 iPhone case and I took 10 days to buy it. People are not clicking an ad and buying. But because Facebook shows us only 7-day attribution and it's easy to do click to buy, everyone thinks, oh, they click and then they buy. But there's generally at least 14 days on average between a first touch with a product and actually purchasing it.
And that's e-commerce specifically, typically?
That was average over our e-com, yeah. I mean, things like info products and SaaS, much longer. Like we see generally months between someone looking at SaaS or info products and purchasing. So there's a lot more education that needs to happen.
Does it depend on the price point as well? Like say like info products? Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I think not as much as you would think though. I also thought that it would be a lot of very price dependent, but I think it's more decision dependent than it is. It doesn't matter if it's $50 or $500. People still want to be convinced the same amount to buy something, which is just mind blowing to me. And let me show you something real quick. Let me see if I can find, there it is. Okay. I'm going to show you one of our sales velocity reports real quick. So this thing I absolutely love, but what this does is this lets you see for any segment of your audience, how does that lead value increase over time, right? So let's pull this back to 365 days. So we can see here that people take about 14 days, excuse me again, till they start purchasing. And then they then purchase again at the 30-day mark, 60-day mark, 90-day mark, and then they stop buying. And we can see here that people really, you can see that huge jump in the first one, little bit, not much at all. You can really see how people convert over time and how their revenue and their lifetime value increases over time for each of those different segments. So I could look at, okay, what ad campaign did they come in? And we can start to see, okay, how does that change over time? Okay, what channel did they come in from? What tags do they have, et cetera, right? So all this information, we can start to see how do these segments increase in lifetime value over time, and how long does it take them to purchase, and what's that value over time? And this has been just super valuable for us in figuring out not only how much can we spend, but how long should we expect until we're able to make our ad spend back. And that's just important for cash flow.
Yeah, vital really, isn't it? Brian saying he's in financial and succession estate education services.
Nice. Yeah, so that's something as well that it's not, Brian, I don't know specific. How different is the market for tangible products versus services? Not as much as you would think. I think that services definitely has and so when I'm talking about tangible, let me go back. So when we're talking about like e-com tangible products, I think there is a much more do-it-yourself strategy. You don't need to get on a sales call to buy an iPhone case, right? Services, I see a lot more touches, and I see a lot more dealing with sales calls and understanding and nurture sequences. Now, the interesting thing is that when we're talking about services, I also kind of lump info products into that because there are services, both of them need nurture sequences. And very few people are coming into either of them completely cold and being like, yes, I'm going to get on a call, or yes, I'm going to buy this product. It's really education over time. And so we see that ads generally for first touch are not pushing towards the demo or for the sales call. They're generally pushing for a PDF or a white paper or a quiz or something that is educational about the product at hand, and really leaning into that pain, dream, fix. And if you don't know what pain, dream, fix is, it's a look it up in Google. It's a standard marketing thing, but it is, what is the pain that that your customer is suffering with right now? The dream is what happens when they are on the other side of that, and what is the heavenly dream that they are going to accomplish. And then the fix is your product or service, right? And so pushing initial ads an initial education towards a paying dream fix educational content really warms people up for that sales call, for that services call. And that is something that is key in both info products and services. Services has the extra little push there that you generally are going to get on a call with them, whereas info products, you'll probably not get on a call in 90% of cases. Although I have worked with a lot of info product companies that do all their sales through sales calls, and it's all qualification up front. And they're very successful with it. But like I said, like small dollar purchases, physical products, probably not. Now large dollar physical products, yes. I actually don't know what this. I was just thinking about Peloton as an example, but I'm not actually sure what the sales process of a Peloton is. They are very expensive though, so I assume it's not a see an ad, buy it, but I could be wrong.
I remember pre-COVID, they some of their ads were very compelling, I must admit.
Yeah. I have thought more than once to get one because I don't get out of the house too much. I need to exercise at some point.
Yeah. One of our coaches does all his calls on a treadmill where he's just walking consistently.
Yeah. I'm blanking on the name. Andrew over at Mixergy. He has a treadmill desk and is just constantly on the treadmill as he's working. Andrew Warner. There we go.
Andrew Warner,
yeah. Which blows my mind. I don't think I could do it. I'm a pacer when I talk. I think a lot better when I'm walking around, and so I'm always just walking around the room back there while I'm on calls.
Yeah, I think while you're on calls and talking, it's a good thing. I wonder if we could somehow attach the Peloton or the information to the SegMetrics and see productivity go up.
I would love to do stuff like that. So I started my career before the marketing stuff in dashboards and production dashboards and stuff for factories. So infographics, infographic stuff of how many widgets were getting produced every second, how many people were taking breaks, all this stuff, and then streaming them in live in real time to these giant 100-inch TVs throughout the factory and stuff like that. Absolutely fun stuff. So I love the idea of hooking up anything in any data I have, and it's like, okay, what can I pump into the CRM and put in SegMetrics this time? You know?
Yeah, very cool.
I'm a very data oriented person, which I'm sure drives everyone nuts.
Well, I mean, there's like a lot of internet online marketers are though, right? Like whether it's the Apple Watch or some kind of like mood ring. Sending that kind of information and data into, I don't know, what should I be working on today? Tell us, like the why would be
exactly
pretty interesting.
Exactly. And I think it's one thing that's interesting. I was talking to, I forget who, but I was talking to someone and they were saying that the data is so important for our businesses. And one of the issues that we run into is that a lot of us succeed in spite of ourselves. And when we start looking at the data, the time we start looking at the data is when things have stopped growing and we're stopped doing well. And if we start collecting data at that point, it's already too late, right? Because we don't know what was happening when we were doing well, and we don't know why it started going down. All we see is that slowdown and degradation. Like when I first started the agency, we were kicking butts and taking names. And I thought, man, this is business on easy mode. Like we were very lucky. We were honestly very lucky. And so we didn't do the marketing we should have. We didn't do the analytics of our customers or our lead acquisition or any of that stuff because we were just printing money. And we were like, this is great. And then after a couple of years, like it stops being easy mode, right? And you start to realize, oh, wait, no, I was just super lucky. I have to actually build a business now. And I have to start looking at this data, and I can't just wing it and continue to grow like we've been growing. And it's a huge wake up call to a lot of businesses, I think, because I think for a lot of businesses, the first 4 or 5 years are very, very good for people. And then at some point you start hitting that wall, and you need to be ready for that before it happens. So you understand what happened instead of having to play catch up while you're trying to struggle to get more money in to increase that growth and also figure out what happened at the same time. Start tracking your numbers early.
Yeah. Don't take this, the idea of everything just, all right, so I've guessed right all this time, like take it with informed decisions through data.
Exactly.
Great.
Awesome.
Well, yeah, I appreciate your time, Keith. It doesn't look like there's any other questions unless, Brian or anyone else has anything. But really appreciate you jumping on and sharing this with us today. Super insightful. And I took a load of notes personally as well.
Awesome. And thank you so much for having me. It's been an absolute pleasure. I love talking about this kind of stuff.
Great. All right. Cheers, Keith.
Awesome.
Thanks, mate.
Thanks so much, everyone. Have a great day. Soon. Cheers. Bye.